Hello, who's here? Let's see. Bernadette, you're here first? Well, thank you for coming, showing up to class. Another night class. We owe it to each other to talk about the book. That's what I want to do. Can we do a book review? Molly, hello. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, you're welcome. I love you. Thank you. Sean, you're here. Hello. Johnny Borealis is here tonight. Thank you. I appreciate you so much. Atal, you're here. Wonderful. Great. We're going to have a great discussion, right? Tina, oh my gosh, Tina, please. I need you to help me understand some things. Renee, hello. T. Witten, you listen to the book, right? If anybody hasn't heard the book, The Smoky God, let me know. If you have heard of it, read it, or listened to it, I put it up on my channel. So if you want to listen to it, Dana from Omaha, Tim, you're here. Oh, I love it. Tim, I love you. Thanks for stopping by. Kathy, hello. Sky Song, I love that. Jan, hello. Nice to see you, Jan. Wow, this is great. Oh, yeah. Say hi to the chatmosphere. Mercedes, hello. You made it. I'm glad. Yay. CWS, hello. Yes, you prayers. Absolutely. How are you doing today? I'm glad you're here. It's nice to see you. DeMoney, honey, always nice to see you. Wyoming chick. Hey there. It's been a while. It has been. I always notice that when I don't see people in a while. Terrence, hello. Dave, hello. Jackknife, hello. Okay, so Dave, you are the one to leave the door open for anybody who's joining, okay? Oh, wow, Sherry's joining. So Sherry, you leave the door open. I haven't seen you in a while, Sherry. That's been a long time. I remember your name, Carrie Capstraw. Thank you, Sherry, rather. Sorry, Sherry Capstraw. And Empress. Okay, Empress. That's going to be the one who leaves the door open for everybody else. I want to jump in with talking about a book that is so intriguing right now to me and many others. I want to see where you are with this particular story. Okay, so I'll jump in the chatmosphere and see how you're doing. If you're joining now, we're doing like a book review, you could say. And some people were familiar with the book. I heard the book actually read. It was, an audio version of the book. I can't remember the channel. I don't know if it was John Levy. I saw where someone wrote John Levy. I'm not sure if it was John Levy's channel, but anyway, I heard the book, and just from listening to this book, I just wanted to know more about this story. So I decided that I wanted to hear it, read it, and hear it. So I read it out so that I could listen again in a different way. I explained that. So I picked up a lot of things, and now I want to put a few things together and see if you are thinking some of these things, okay? Now, before I get to the book called The Smoky God, I want to thank you if you're joining on Facebook, on Twitch, okay? And I will come into the chatmosphere and say hi if you joined, but I want to jump into it because you know me, I'm so chatty. I will talk forever, keep you forever. Okay, so let me get to, I have two sets of slides. So I want to do something quick before I do, let's see if this will change it automatically. Oh no, it didn't do that. Okay, 1 minute. I have two sets here of these slides. So let me share the other. Okay. Did the right one come on yet? No. Okay, 1 minute. Getting it. It's a little details worked out here. Okay. I think that might do it. Okay, yeah, here we are. I named this Polar Arctic Vibes. And the reason I'm naming it that, and hear me out, because this subject matter of cosmology, the Antarctic, the polar region, the South Pole, the North Pole, at this point in a conversation or research, I am still at a learning curve. So anything that you can help me to understand the Arctic Circle, Antarctica, the North Pole, and the South Pole in regards to cosmology, just share with me if they're good resources, because I've had some great resources shared where I was able to at least learn about the 1800s and some of the inconsistencies with the narrative. So you all have shared some great resources, you know, Michelle Gibson, John Levy, somebody, what's his name, and all of those various content creators. Now, I need to understand this Antarctic information. I really, really, really want to understand it, because this is an area, to me, I don't get it. But again, without further ado, it's called, oh, Dana, you're here. Dana's here. I haven't seen you in a while. Cool Guitar, that's the name. And did I see Girl Code join? Girl Code. Oh my gosh, you're here. And Karen, hello. And Kev. Oh, that must mean that, oh wow, Angela, hello. Love it. Welcome, Lori and 420. While Dragon is here, welcome everyone. So if I say things that are not correct in terms of my understanding with the cosmology of this area of the world, bear with me. Okay, I'm trying to get it right. Okay, now, I call it Polar Arctic Vibes. The people that are indigenous to when I say the Arctic, I say the Arctic Circle, the Arctic Circle. So I'll explain more. We'll just go through the slides, okay? And I just love this picture. Now, someone explained which people group, let me make it bigger, which people group this would be in terms of, I'll share that with you. Somebody who understands all of the various people groups that inhabit Siberia, parts of Russia, of course, you know, where you would find the countries that are in that area of the world: Finland, Sweden, Norway. Then you have the Scottish Isles. These are where the sailors are in the seas, the Barents Seas and the Baltic Seas and all of those things. And then we have Alaska on this end and parts of Canada. Okay, so it's It's an area that is mysterious in Inuit. So you would say that this people group that you're looking at are Inuits. Did I say it right? Inuit. Someone on Facebook, she shared something about this people group, and I'll share it with you. Now, I have not looked into all of the people groups. I want to break them down, but yeah, like you said, the Inuit, the Yupik, the Aleut from the Aleutian Islands, and as they say, Eskimo. So I'm going to use the term Eskimo, but if you see any distinctions with the people, because some of the pictures I found are older pictures from the 1800s, so they use the term Eskimo here. I don't know what's correct in terms of politically correct, because a lot of people have, they're in the modern day conversation, and I'll tell you more about that. And they may get offended if you use a term. So without me knowing, if Eskimo is okay, let me know, okay? So I want to show just some things before we get into the conversation of the book. So I wanted to show that there's just beautiful parts of the culture of the people that come from the regions of the Arctic Circle, the polar circle. And we've always, even heard about Eskimo kisses, things that are just so sweet about this culture. And I was revisiting just the little things that I know about the Eskimo people. And I actually met a lady when I was going to China. I flew into Seattle, and it was a woman, just, I think she wanted to maybe borrow my charger or something. I was in the waiting area, and she was really nice, and she told me that she was an Eskimo. She was an Eskimo, and actually she looked phenotypically, I would have thought that she was a Black woman, to be honest. So I was a little bit, surprised because of my limited exposure to the culture. But I just wanted to show some of the things that we may have seen in terms of some of the things that are geared towards children's entertainment and things like that. So we see books, and I never gravitated towards these stories. Have you? I don't know. I've known about things that are just very surface, but I never did any studies like I want to do now. And in school, they didn't cover these regions of the world in my schools. I don't know about you, but I wish that I had learned about these people and this area of the world. So you see, it says Eskimo Girl, Arctic Adventures. And then if you see the picture of the other book here and you look at the person, that looks like North American, native, as they say. I don't know which tribes, but very similar in looks. So I want to show you some of the photos that I came across. Just a very beautiful people group. Beautiful in the sense that I can see it. It looks like a gentle. I said in my post today, like a very gentle and kind culture, and traditional in terms of, when you look at something and you can tell whatever your impression is. So if you see something, like I always say, I invite you to say something. When you look at these pictures, what comes to mind? Share it in our chatmosphere so we can just see if we're on the same page, because that's what I get from looking at the faces. I see a kind, and I see intelligence, and I see a people that are strong and resilient. So yeah, share share what you see, please. So this is what I mean about I see a traditional culture based on family, and that's what I consider traditional. It seems like family is a fringe kind of a concept in the way this modern culture we live in now sees family. They just see family as disposable, whatever, but I can see that they have strong ties. So I wanted to share that that was what came to my mind as I look at these images. And again, even though I know this is posed photography, I still pick up that they are in traditional roles. A woman and a man, a mother and a father. So this is what I see. And it's just beautiful. What do you see? You said, Jules said it looks too freaking cold. Yeah, it does look cold, and I can't imagine what it's like. So, sis with her hood here, I think she has won the hood game. Her hood game is real strong right here, but just amazing. And I know people have issues with animal furs and things like that. And when looking at a culture, I know people can judge a culture based on certain cultural characteristics, but we see that they need the fur in the region that they live in. So they are using it out of pure necessity. And this is not some kind of stunting for the gram. So it is not something PETA would want to hear. But I want to say, when I look at these cultures, I look at things like this I mentioned before. I look at how do they treat their animals and their children, their babies. And that's something that I look at, and I can see in this picture here, these pictures rather, I see a culture that loves their babies, their children. All generations look like they are harmonious because the older people are right there and they look very strong. So it's something that they're doing right here. It looks like it works. And it is the foundation of the human relationship, is the family, because you come from a mother, so that is the first relationship, is to mother. So that is your family, basically. So father and mother, because you can't have baby without father. So this is a unit. And then you see the grandparents in this society, and they look to be very, like I said, strong-bodied and wise. So this is what I'm picking up. And if you see anything or know anything, again, please share. And I love the baby carrier. So that's something that is just beautiful. If a culture goes out of their way to create these beautiful things to carry their babies, it says a lot. It's so ornate. And this is something that to me tells me a lot about the people of the Arctic Circle as well, is that I sense that they have a respect for animals and they love their animals. And this is something that I can see is just a beautiful people group from what I'm perceiving. So the dogs, and they're, we know of these dog breeds from the Alaska area. So you may have one of these type of dogs. I know a woman who breeds these type of dogs, and they're beautiful, smart, and just amazing dogs. So this is something that they have a symbiotic relationship with many of the animals of that Arctic region. And this is something that I'll get into later. I just wanted to share that I never studied the Vikings really. They really just glossed over this stuff in school, and I never gravitated towards movies or anything that dealt with Vikings because I never liked things that dealt with war and stuff like that. So I'm just now learning, who are the Vikings, how do they fit in, and I love hearing the theories that Michelle Gibson and John Levy and people like that share in terms of these different people groups all over. I really just see a lot of synergy in terms of I don't see as much division in the cultures of many of the antediluvian people, but I wanted to share this because this Viking type of ship, what I'm noticing, and tell me who knows about Viking mythology and things like that, but I see a lot of red sails when I see the pictures of the Viking vessels, and they have the dragons and they're made of wood, in terms of that being the main material. So the dragon cultures in which you see dragons in their architecture, we think of those regions to the east. So it's just something that is interesting about that. So this man, when I saw this picture, he's a Norwegian sailor, and we if you listened or read the story, the Smoky God, that was based on a father and son from Norway. And when I think of Odin and possible, I don't know, Thor, come on, correct me, everybody, because now I want to look at all those movies. If you know of good movies to recommend, please put it in the chatmosphere, because I want to learn about the Vikings and piece these things together. So when I saw this Norwegian sailor, I thought of, Odin and some of those characters we've seen if you watch the movies like The Lord of the Rings, right? So yeah, just share things, and if anybody else has the same kind of understanding, which is not much for like me, and you want to learn good resources, if you know of good movies, please share. So now, when it comes to the geography and the cartography, the topography, and all of these ographies, I did not understand. Your girl did not understand where is the Arctic and where is the North and the South Pole. What's going on? I feel like I am going back to kindergarten to understand these things, because I no longer, and I'm going to go on the record and say this, I no longer believe in a globe Earth model. Now, I did not say, oh, I am flat Earth. I am saying that I don't believe in a globe Earth. Okay. Now, you can call me names and flame me for it, but I do not belong. I do not belong to that group anymore. I used to, but I've seen too many things that there's no way. It's just no way. And I knew that something was wrong when I traveled. When I flew to China and places and flew over Russia, I knew that they were lying to me when I look, because I'm the one that can't sleep on the airplane. I have to look at where are they saying that we are right now. And it looks like they are making too much of they're going out of their way to make it look like you know what I'm talking about. They have the globe right there on your panel, and then they have the plane, and they'll show the whole globe, and then they're like, you're just right here on the uh, come on, okay? Something is all, it's always been off about that. So I just want to say that I had to really look at this to try to understand, because I feel like I'm coming out of a, I don't know, what do you want to call it? I'm coming out of a daze. And I believed in a globe. I used to have globes in my room on my desk. I love looking at it and spinning it and things like that. So it's hard to change a position, especially when it's been conditioned and programmed for so many years. So it's really a challenge, everyone, but I really, really want to understand these things, okay? So I want to share that when I did a piece of content on Scotland, and I realized that, oh wow, okay, Scotland is really close to all of these areas of like the Scandinavian countries. Duh. I'm like, duh, of course. They're all sailors. They are merchant marines. So when you think about the sailing culture and the people that sailed and were known as the ship builders and the navigators, the explorers, and people like this, where did they come from? And what is yet the final exploration of the world realm? And that's what I have adopted. I use the term the world realm because after I stopped believing that the world was a globe, I had to think of something until I could understand, because I've heard people explain. I heard someone say that they look at it as a donut, like a donut shape. And I was trying to understand that. And some people talk about like an ant, like if you had an ant farm and you have layers that kind of, go around like spiral. So it's like different levels of a, different planes. I don't know, everyone, but I'm still trying to get it together. But oh, Empress, are you one that believes? Okay, good. I'm glad you shared this, and share whatever you think. Okay. Okay. I'm glad you said, I think Earth is shaped more like a donut. Each pole has an opening that goes to the other pole. You can go to inner Earth through there. Thank you for sharing that. And that is something that have you ever heard somebody say, explain it to me like I'm a little child? That's what I really want to get more understanding, and I need to see more visuals. So you say it's toroidal. Is that the same as saying like a donut? Let me know. Taurus. Okay, Johnny Borrell, it's a Taurus shape. Is that also like a donut? Let me know. Yes, I've heard this, Jules, a snow globe with the firmament water above. So I definitely am a firmament person. I totally understand the firmament in terms of, I believe it. I could see it in my mind when you describe it that way, like a snow globe type of thing. So you say, I think it's similar to a donut. Okay. All righty. Oh, okay. I still need to do more research. Okay. So this remains a mystery, but you can see the various countries like, like I said earlier. So anybody who would have the type of understanding of the polar regions, and they would have the water, the Arctic Ocean. We have Alaska again, Russia, Finland, Sweden, Norway, Iceland. I'll add in Scotland because they're pretty close. Then you have Greenland, which is part of Denmark, and the only country in terms of like the US, it is based on Alaska gives us the only connection to the Arctic Ocean. And I want to talk about Alaska and get your opinion. Has anybody ever been to Alaska or lived in Alaska? Let me know. I've never been to Alaska, but I've been close. Okay, God's snow globe. I like that. Thank you, Jules. Okay, I want to share something I'm not proud of, but you're my people, so I can share it. And I know I wasn't being nice, okay, but I said something to a girl. I'll tell you. Okay, I call it Arctic shade. Okay. So today I shared something, the picture of the people that I say are from the polar circle. I use it as a just general until I learn about the various people group and where they are. But I was just generally saying the Arctic circle, the polar region. And then I said, I'm adding in Antarctica because I don't understand how there's a North and South Pole and where Antarctica is. So I'm just throwing it all in. But this person right here on Instagram, let me just share on Instagool, as our brother Paul would say, let me show you what this. She threw shade at me, some Arctic shade. She says, you know, Antarctic is on the opposite side of the world, right? Like, isn't that a little bit like snarky? But I didn't like, I put a little heart. I liked what she said. I didn't even like get snippy with her, but I answered, I said, well, I want to learn all about it now. All these years, I have not learn truth about this subject as well as everything. She comes back and says, do you understand geography? Look at a globe. That's when I said, okay, now she's triggered the monster in me. Why does she have to do that? Why? I'm trying to be nice. It's on my own, barely my own Instagool, because Instagool has me. I'm always in the corner. I'm the kid in the corner, always on social media. So she's on my Instagool page talking to me about I need to go look at a globe. Okay. So my response, then I got snarky. I'm sorry, Jesus, but I wasn't nice. I said, do you understand the Arctic Circle? I said, don't come at me like a filthy supremacist. And I'll tell you why I said that. Because I had to check out, who is this person? She's new to me. And I found out she was, I'll show you later. So because I used their own talking points back at them. So I said, I'm looking at what is called the Arctic Circle and all within and beyond. So what's your issue? Because you have an edge to your tone. And then I followed up and I said, oh, you assume that everybody ascribes to a globe. So, I mean, I just had to hit her back with, I might not be a globe believer, but just the shade of it all. Like, she comes at me with so much. I don't know. I wouldn't do that to somebody. Like, I wouldn't go. But this is why. Okay, this is like, you could file this away as if Salty Cracker created this person, because she ticks off all of the social justice tip, like all the boxes. Okay, so this was, I caught her story. Okay, so this is the person. I had to tell you why I told her a filthy supremacist, because you can see she has the Indigenous women, non-binary folk. You know how a Salty Cracker goes through a whole list of all the stunning and brave different things, boxes. And so she has this thing, she is Indigenous. And then you can see she's got making the A word illegal, doesn't stop the A word, it stops safe A words. And then she's talking about, well, she put a person who said, your country is literally still discovering mass of Indigenous children. So she, she says that whoever this is, Catherine McKenna, is tone deaf, she puts here. And then she has something about this incident that just happened, which I'm not in the loop of it. So I just wanted to show you that she is what Salty Cracker would say. You know, she's she's going and I just threw the talking points back at her because she was talking about white supremacy and all this stuff. So I just said, whatever. But I just wanted to share it because what's crazy about these different things that are happening online, and our sister Girl Code has expressed, I mean, she's really helped me to understand that the algorithms, you see how she is in her own, it's like an echo chamber. Social media puts us in echo chambers where we only hear from people that sound like us. So in the days before social media, it was easier to have dialogue, and people didn't resort to name calling so easily. They could have a little debate at the barber shop or the beauty salon, or just at the market. They could just say, no, I don't agree. Oh yeah, okay, well that's fine. And it just doesn't go anywhere, right? It was a time when people were doing this in the area of politics and things, but now it's just so divisive, and social media has just exacerbated this because she has memes. Look at this. These are memes, just like the conservative side has the memes. So she could stay in a certain thinking without a challenge, just like I could as well. But most of us on this side, we've been challenged. We've been a challenge like our whole life with people that don't agree with us. So we're used to standing our position and things like that. We're kind of used to it, and being attacked and marginalized and all of these kind of things, and canceled or whatever. So if these people, like I said, are true liberals and things like that, we agree with a lot of things. We do. Like this one thing that she shared about the Indigenous children. So I'm assuming that she's up in Canada. So you've heard about the First Nations children and what happened to them. So she has something that I definitely agree on. All of these other things, if she and I were to sit down over some nice food or something, I bet we would not have as many differences. You see, we're not coming together face to face anymore and having good dialogue. So I just wanted to share that this happened to me today, and I had to throw a little Arctic shade back at her. And so these are the kind of things, like I'm going to give another example. These are the things that, yes, they can't meme. It is true. Salty says it all the time. So I bring this up because, when they talk about these things in terms of people groups being mocked in a way, and companies doing insensitive things, I don't know how I feel about Alaska Air, and they're saying meet our Eskimo. I mean, do you think that's offensive? Because I'm not Eskimo, but I think this is kind of strange. I've flown Alaska Air, and I've gotten on one of their planes that had this on the, I think, don't they have different things on their tail? But I've had the Alaskan man on the tail of the plane, and I was just feeling a little bit cringe. I mean, tell me, a little bit cringe, or is it just me? But anyway, yes, the salt must flow. The salt must flow. We're going to trigger the lefties sometimes, and trigger everybody. Everybody's triggered now. So let's see. Oh, Mrs. Harris, you're here. You're not late. Thanks for joining. Okay. I love when you come into the chatmosphere. So anyway, I'm saying I don't like this. Okay. So, and then this, they could take issue with this too. I don't know. Eskimo pie. Probably not the most, I don't like it. Okay. Can we not do these kind of things? I don't know. What do you think? I can kind of go along with I don't think this is cool. But again, more maps. So we're talking the Arctic Circle, the North Pole. And I wanted to show this map right here because for this story, the Smoky God, the islands that they sailed to after coming out from Norway, from Stockholm, they went to Spitsbergen. So you see that? Let's see if I can point right there. Do you see it? Spitsbergen and Franz Joseph Land. Do you remember those things for those that read the book? So you can see where they have the shipping lanes here. And you see Siberia, Alaska, and yeah, Greenland. So many islands in this world realm. And more pictures so you can see how, in terms of the most, I guess, in terms of countries, the most mass would be Russia and Canada, I would say. And this would be what they call the Arctic Circle. Has anybody ever traveled to this area? Lori, you said you you wait, leave my Eskimo rice. Okay, Lori, you take it up with the Eskimo people. I don't know if it's offensive, okay? You check it out with them because I don't know what you can do anymore. Everything is touchy. Hey, Tam is saying, well, Jen, wait till you find out that the Black Negroes are the original indigenous Indians of the Americas. We've been lied to. We don't come from Africa. Dame Calloway has a channel on this. Thanks for sharing that, Tam. I used to listen to Dame Calloway. I'm familiar with some of his content. I haven't listened to him in a long time, but I'm familiar that he says that, that the Negroes don't come from Africa, that are here in the Americas, that have been here, in terms of, how you have the different people that say foundational Black people and things like that. So yeah, that's an interesting, I am a open book. I want to learn what is going on here. Okay, we don't have Aunt Jemima anymore. That's right, we don't have Aunt Jemima, so they can't have the Eskimo pies. Everybody, you give up all your snacks and call it just, I don't know, pies, just in general. No more fun. I don't know if it was fun in the beginning. Gail, you're here. Thank you. Hi. You're on your way to walk around the college track with your grandkids to pray for the city. Oh, I love it. Oh, we are in agreement with whatever you're praying for. That's wonderful. Thank you for doing that. So I wanted to show this. This is at some of the, I forget what point this is in the Arctic, but this is a landmark. Don't you see that it is like they are going out of their way to say, hey, it's a globe. It's a globe. You're on a spinning ball. You're on a spinning blue ball. Yes, it's gravity. It's gravity. That's what Sir Isaac Newton said. And Copernicus said that you're spinning around the sun, right? So, okay. I don't know. You tell me. It looks strange. It looks like they're doing a lot here to get this message around the sun, right? Hi, Shiera. Haven't seen you in it looks like a portal. It does, right? It's a weird thing to have, I think. I just wanted to share to get your opinion of why do they have that in the Arctic Circle? And this frozen tundra, whatever you want to call, glaciers, icebergs, this silent polar region, I am now fascinated, and it has sparked up my wonderment, because I just really wasn't interested in even thinking about traveling anywhere. But I have to say, honestly, this has sparked up an interest. I would have never wanted to go to the Arctic regions. So, what would it look like for somebody to plan a trip to the Arctic regions or Antarctica? How far can a person get, do you think? I know that you can go to places that are close by, of course, but how far into this traveling do you think a person could see? Do you think they've opened up more for people? Let me know. Have you been on these kind of cruises where you get this close to the icebergs? Because now I really want to do this kind of stuff. I am intrigued. Now, this is more of that Viking boat model. And I learned a new word. So in these regions, the lands that are around the Arctic Circle, they are formed by glaciers, I've learned. So we won't get into that because I'm going to create some content that, help us to understand glaciers. I didn't understand glaciers. I heard of them, but I never, again, this is all new. So the glaciers and how the ice had formed all of these passages with the waterways, all of this water. So if anybody gets worried about water supplies, if you look at these regions of the world, you will understand that there will never be a shortage of water to drink. That's the word I learned, Abby. Fjords. Fjords. Let me see. Did I say it right? I wrote it down. I listened to the pronunciation. By the way, I should do that more often. You can put something on to listen to how to pronounce it, but the fjords. I had seen that word, but I never knew what it was. So I want to show you all some a fjord. Okay, so that's how I've learned to say it. A fjord is a long, narrow inlet with steep sides or cliffs created by glaciers. So the fjords, thank you, the fjords. Come on, help us get it right. Fjords. Thank you, Angela. Fjords. Have you ever gone on a cruise to see the fjords? And it's not Ford. Fjord. So this is amazing. I don't know why I was never interested in this kind of stuff. This is the kind of stuff like my parents are interested in. Like, they want to go on cruises and eat a bunch of salmon. And it always sounded like, yeah, that's cute for the old people. But I'm now the old people. I want to go see these things, okay? Group trip. The fjords. Get it right now. Let's practice. The fjords. The fjords. It's absolutely beautiful, isn't it, Abby? I want to see this. Now I'm interested in going places. This did it for me. And more of those ships that have the red sails. That's fascinating. And I want to say that this is a seafaring, again, culture and people. Everybody learns to get in a boat, and they learn boats like we learn bicycles. So this is one of the first things you learn when you live in these areas of the world. And I think that's a wonderful thing. And you could basically get around in a kayak, in a boat, like this, all different sizes. So you can see he's in a raft, and look at the colors and all of the prisms and how the water shows this color blue. And in the book, The Smoky God, when it described how the icebergs would look, I was really Oh, I'm glad you said that, Alan. I'm sorry. I'm spazzing. I'm glad you said that. Airline pilots are sworn to not share information. I have wondered about that because I have some pilot friends and they really stick to the script and they seem like they're very like wound up pretty tightly, especially the ones that fly commercial. So, yeah, I wondered about that. Yeah. I'm not friends with my pilot friends anymore, hardly, just a couple of them. But they didn't like when I didn't go along with, the Jojo Magoo and Kami Kamila. They didn't like that too much. So, when I think about the sailing and when I think about also boats, I feel like who are the people that have boats? I think boating is something spiritual to it. It's something very powerful to sailing and the lessons that you learn, just like in agriculture. It's a lot of biblical lessons and truths. Um, but a sailor and just a boat, it is powerful. So when I look at these regions and the sailing and the way that you can travel and explore and the water, it's amazing to just have that understanding of navigation. So you can look at the fjords, some of them from an aerial view. So I want to share that before we get into our book review, just looking at this area of the world, okay? Get us in the mindset of it. The fjords, everyone. Look at the little house along the way. Oh my goodness. This is mystical, magical place. It is unbelievably beautiful. And you can just imagine the air quality, everything is so healthy. The food, everything. Hey, Rawhide, when I had a sailboat, it was an adventure every time. There you are, adventure. And oh, I love it. But I think sailing and thinking about the way that Noah escaped, through a boat, and all of these cultures, they all have a flood narrative, which is beautiful. It's pristine. Hey, Texas girl, Nancy, it's very, yes, serene and pristine. Absolutely. Has anybody been on one of these cruises? Let us know. So when you think about, again, the sea and the nautical sailing and the marine culture of the Scandinavian, the Scottish, the British as well, the Greek, big sailing. You have right over where else? It's in this Arctic circle. I'm just dealing with that mainly. So we have Russian sailors in the area of Siberia, places like that. A lot of port cities. So you have Greenland, yeah, all of those areas. So these cruises, they're called the Norwegian cruise. So it's like, duh, of course. In the book, remember when the father and son, oh, I don't want to get ahead of it, but remember they met the people and they said that they were on a cruise, a pleasure cruise. So it lets you know that the Norwegians were the first. I'll go out and say they were the first to bring the pleasure cruising, not just cruising to get somewhere and have to do anything, but to be a guest as you are sailing for pleasure. So that is what I see that the Norwegians have brought to the world realm. And another thing that's interesting about these cultures, are the stories of things like the Kraken. So in the Norwegian, they call superstition and mythology, they mention the Kraken. And isn't it interesting that we were hearing a lot? I was talking about the Kraken last year, remember? And the Kraken is supposed to be what? A giant octopus. So if they're saying that this is all mythology and these are superstitions, when we think about that whole area in terms of the Arctic Ocean, why would it be so far-fetched to think that a very large animal like a Kraken could possibly be real? I just want to say that I'm starting to see where it could be very real, that there are creatures that could take a ship and do something like this. So the Kraken is that comes out of Scandinavia, Norwegian folklore. And again, most of the cultures of the world have a flood account. So this is something that is in the DNA of all peoples. They have a memory of a flood, a big flood that covered the entire world realm. And I want to say also that our military, I didn't know that they did exercises up in the Arctic region. Did you all know that they trained? This is some form of Navy polar training. So that's fascinating. So that is something I came across. So look at that. This is our U.S. troops in the Arctic doing some training. And I didn't realize this, but I am going to just say that Uggs was originally Eskimo. Okay, so the people of the polar region, the Arctic Circle, they brought us Uggs. So Uggs are Eskimo. This is Eskimo culture and snowshoes and things like that. Just very wise culture. You love Uggs? Well, you could thank these people for bringing this comfortable shoe. I love Uggs too. I love these mucklucks. I call them mucklucks, and I learned how to make mucklucks, but I love them. So it kind of makes you think of moccasins and things like that. So you can see the common ground with a lot of these cultures. And I just when I saw this, I just loved it. I think somebody in our group has one of these dogs, right? An Alaskan. Who has an Alaskan, or they call the Eskimo? An Alaskan Eskimo dog, they call them. Let me know the right name, how they call this dog. But it's Eskimo in the name. And I thought of when I saw this dog making this face, I said, he's saying I might be named Snowflake, but I'm known in these snowy, icy streets. Okay. So yeah, you could try him if you want to, but I would trust Snowflake in a minute to protect the family. Alaskan Husky, right. Okay, Alaskan Husky. But isn't there another name for the one where they say Eskimo in the name? Because I came across something that had that in the name too, something Eskimo dog. So that was the one I share. Husky. That's right. Abby, do you have a Husky? Anybody? So yeah, so I love that the animals just it's such like I said, it's a symbiotic thing in their culture. And again, when we were talking about prepping and being prepared, the conversation that's going on, that's the name. Thank you. That was an American Eskimo. That was the one that was in the picture that I just showed. Thank you, Sean. American Eskimo. Yep, there you go. So I talk about high value humans, and the conversations that are happening because of social media and these algorithms and things that keep people in a cycle of, like I said, it can keep us in a vacuum, in an echo chamber. But what I am seeing in terms of a high value human, I'm going to use that a lot, is a self-sustaining human being, and one that can help their family and community with protection, provision. And if a person could survive in a place like these regions, in one of these areas, that's a group of people that I would say are high value humans. And I base it on, they have traditional families, very strong, intact families. They have respect for the elderly. They look like they love their babies and their animals, and they look as if they do no harm. That's what I'm picking up about them. But this right here, I wanted to share. It's a tent that's called an Eskimo, and it has like amazing features in terms of keeping a person warm. But this is extreme survival and knowing how to just thrive in such a brutal type of temperature. So living the simpler life will do that. Exactly. And I think about, even when I showed the picture of the dog being a protector, I don't think that people that live in the Arctic Circle, I don't see them needing like pals and a lot of protection. I mean, I think the dogs are enough protection, but it's probably that they are protecting against other animals. But if you think about people going up into those regions to make a life for themselves, crime and things like that will not be on their agenda. So I don't think, and you can correct me, I don't think they have a lot of problems with crime and people taking advantage of other people, because if they are living a more simple life, like you said, they don't have all of these like designer things, and they're not trying to show off material things because they're busy trying to work within a harsh environment. So I'm just saying, like, if I were to grade them, they look like they can deal without, I don't know, without like a predatory, parasitical, vampiric type of culture. I don't see it working up here. For one thing, for you snake lovers, I hate to pick on snakes. I thought about this the other day. I said, snakes wouldn't be a problem in these regions, right? A snake couldn't live up in the Arctic area, right? So there's no snakes. And when you think about having life-saving, self-sustaining skills, and you think about boating and navigating, there is a maneuver if you are in a kayak called the Eskimo roll. Do you all know about the Eskimo roll? Has anyone ever had to do the Eskimo roll? But there's a lot of wisdom to knowing how to do this. And yeah, let's see what you guys are saying. What's up? Hey, Alan, you said a person could survive in the wild years ago. Today, we might last a night. That's sad, Alan. That's sad, but true. Wow. One night. We got to get that. That's right, Mercedes. I don't like them. That's right. So that's a deep thing that Alan just shared. What could a person do if they were up in these areas? Like, the survival skills are just not there. I want to go to, I'm going to stop my screen and I'm going to go to the book. Can we talk about the book a bit? The Smoky God. I'm going to share my screen. I want to ask you all some questions about it, but I just wanted to get, just show that right now, because I have to see, it's like envision the place, because I've never been to these places. It's just, yeah, you don't like snakes either, Sean. Okay, so who read the book? Who knows this story? Anybody? Let me know. I will wait. I want to see who is familiar with this book, The Smoky God. Share with us. Did you hear my reading that I did the other day? It's on the channel if you want to listen. It's kind of like, it's that really, like, I don't know. I'm not trying to do it, but I get relaxed and I just sound like I'm one of those ESMR kind of channels. So I'm not trying to do it, but I don't know. It just helps me to relax so I'm trying to keep my breathing at a steady rate. So I don't know if it sounds too chilled. I think Karen said she fell asleep. You fell asleep. Big Pontiac is here. Hey, Big Pontiac, you were hanging out when I was reading the book. Who listened to it the entire way? I think T. Witten. Weren't you hanging the whole time? You heard you did, Johnny Borealis. You listened. You heard. I'm enthralled with this story. Oh, you are good. You heard it? Oh, you listened? Good. Okay, so let's talk about this, because I want to do just a review of it. Now, The Smoky God was written by Willis George Emerson. Now, this is an account by a Norwegian sailor named Olaf Jansen. So the date of this book of Willis, who wrote the account, from hearing it, was 1908. So we're still dealing with the sort of time frame that is mysterious. And this Willis guy, I'll tell you, I found something interesting about him, and I'll share it later. So here is the beginning of the story, where the writer, he meets the sailor because he is impressed with his house. He has a very nice bungalow. So he gets into a conversation, they talk, and the man is in his 90s. So he wants the man, Willis, to come back for some reason. He felt that he could tell his life story to him. And he was summoned to come to the man's bedside when he was dying. So the Norwegian sailor told him a story of when he was 19 years old. He went with his father on an adventure. They lived in Norway and they did a lot of business. They went and got tusks from some of the islands off of Siberia. So they were familiar with a lot of the area of the Arctic Ocean, and they would bring back things that they could sell. They are merchant marines. So he and his father were out sailing, and they were used to being away for weeks, sometimes months, sailors, and the women are used to it. He's 19, and his father was what would you say? Like, he was a devoted believer in Odin and Thor. So he mentioned Odin and Thor. And His father was like he was a strong man, but he described his father as also very loving and nurturing. So they had a great father-son relationship. And his father dreamed of seeing Agharta. Did I say it right? Agharta, inner earth. So he knew that if he sailed far up north beyond what anybody could ever do or had ever gone, that he felt that Odin and Thor would favor the bravery if they, risk taking this journey. So they had a small fishing sloop. And because it was small, it could fit into the narrow channels of the ice towers, like these icebergs. And so they were very diligent and they had lots of good fortune in getting through. And they got very far, but their compass stopped working. And it went crazy. It spun around. So then what happened? They ran into a kind of a storm or something. They lost some of their provisions, and when they got to an open area of water, they noticed that it was by accident that he noticed the water was not salty, so they could fill their water reserves. So it was all these different things that happened along the way. But the most incredible thing was when they got to this one area, they had gone so far. So they knew that they had gone further than any human being had ever been. So they were they stuck? Tell me, were they stuck at that point when they saw the giants? So they were singing and they heard the singing very loud, and they heard like music, instruments and things, and it was amazing. And they saw this huge ship. So the men on board, men and women, they came over out of curiosity to see them, and basically they were friendly. So they were friendly giants. They were men that were 9 and 10 and 12 feet tall. The women were 9 feet tall, but he described them as being very gentle. They seemed to be very classy, because he described the men as wearing like a tunic with a belt tied around the waist, and they had like a very fine fabrics. Their beards were very neat. They had different color beards and hair. He described some as black, blonde, and maybe redhead, but it was amazing how he described their faces. I could see it in my mind. I just thought the story was so well told. So he goes into how the giants, they spoke another language, and he said it sounded like Sanskrit. So they somehow got communications where the giants said, you could come with us. So they went, and the giants, they picked up the boat that the father and son were on, their fishing sloop, and it was like a toy, is what it seemed like, how it was described. Like they just picked it up out of the water, put it on their boat, and went into the inner earth where they lived. So when they get into the inner earth, it sounds like Eden. Well, Eden is one of the cities within the inner earth, Agharta. And they stay there 2.5 years. I was intrigued by the couple that they were assigned. What did you think about the couple that was assigned to them? Let me open up the book. But I thought that was interesting that the couple, they helped them to learn the language and the culture. And from the description of the civilization that was in the inner earth, they sound like traditional people, because it sounded like they were married and had families. The children, did you notice they said the children did not go to school until they were 20 years old? Wasn't that fascinating? So the children don't go to school until they are 20 years old. They learn things like geometry, they learn music. That's something that's very important. They learn agriculture. They learn, what are some of the other things? They really teach the children skills, and along with, I guess you could say, right brain, left brain skills, but the skills are good skills that a person could sustain themselves. So I thought that was very fascinating. I'm looking for the book so I could have some of the words in front of me. But let's see. Then it goes on to say that they okay, this is when you can see the fjords and the various icebergs. And I want to ask you, do you think it's a connection that we had the Titanic happen? Because that's an interesting thing, that, we have the Titanic sailing in the area at one time when we have a lot of weird things going on, and what happened with that and its connection to the monetary system, without saying too much. But I'm looking for I had the Smokey God, the book. Wait a minute, I'll have to just look it up. Give me a minute. Anybody else? What's going on in the chatmosphere? Yeah, the people lived to 900 years. So the people lived a long time. And he mentioned that the air quality was charged. So it had this like electrical charge that helped the people. He said they were all like, they had a very healthy glow every day. Water would come up from, didn't it come up from the ground, and it rained. So the produce, like grapes, were as big as apples. The fruit was the trees were bigger than the California cedars. The way he described the height of the trees. I'm going to bring the book up. I can't believe I didn't have it saved. Okay. The PDF version. Oh, it didn't bring. Oh, well, I'm sorry. Hold it. I want to get. So there's a free PDF version if you want to read it. Someone found it on Kindle. Who was that found it on Kindle? If anybody has that link, but you can find it easily. All right, so I found it. So the people lived, like Tina says, they lived to be 900 years old. So he lives within, looking for the name of the couple. Anybody remember the name of the couple that trained he and his father in the ways, and then he met the leader of Eden? Okay, so I'm at the point. I had to scroll through the PDF. Okay, I'm almost there. Oh, Jules Galdea. Remember that name? Why does that name just sound... it was you, Lori. Lori found it on Kindle for 99 cents. Thank you, Lori. So Jules Galdea and his wife were the couple that taught they taught them, educated his father and himself in the language. And they put what I thought was interesting, they put the boat on display. While they were there, their boat was on display. So the people of the inner earth thought this was amazing. Like, where did these two come from? So they were very fascinated, but their hospitality was very warm. And I didn't detect, did you all detect that they were nefarious in any way? Because they to me seem like a very gentle people. There would be no need to again have any kind of vampiric behavior because they had everything they needed. Oh, you think of, thank you, Jules Verne and Chaldea. Really, Jules Verne. Interesting, Jules Verne. Yeah. So Jules and his wife became, their friends, Jules Galdea. Now, when they went to Eden, do you remember the vehicle that they traveled on? Let me pull that up. So here's a passage where it says, I never saw such a display of gold. It was everywhere. The door casings were inlaid, and the tables were veneered with sheetings of gold. Domes of the public buildings were of gold. It was used most generously in the furnishings of the great temples of music. And it goes on to say that vegetation grew in lavish exuberance, and fruits of all kinds possessed the most delicate flavor. Clusters of grapes, 4 and 5 feet in length, each grape as large as an orange, and apples larger than a man's head, typified the wonderful growth of all things on the inside of the earth. So they called the city of Eden Jehu. So they went after their first year, they met with an envoy from the ruler of Eden. So what I want to talk about is the vehicle that they traveled. Ari, you're here. Hi, Ari. Thanks for joining. Blessings to you. So I thought that the vehicle was fascinating. Let me get to it. Okay, so they talk about this electrical cloud, and that that the people spoke on like an air current. So they didn't have cell phones, but they spoke to each other on air currents. What do you think? Okay, so I want to get to the part where they had this vehicle. Okay, here it is. So when they went on the trip to Eden, after they had given the leader, the emissaries, enough information to be allowed to travel, they say that this vehicle was doubtless some electrical contrivance. It was noiseless. It ran on a single iron rail in perfect balance. The trip was made at a high rate of speed. We were carried up hills and down dales, across valleys, and along the sides of steep mountains, without any apparent attempt having been made to level the earth as they do with railroad tracks. The car seats were huge and comfortable, and the top of each car had a high geared flywheel, and the flywheel was lying on their sides. which were automatically adjusted as the speed of the car increased. The high speed of these flywheels geometrically increased. So they were like revolving fan-like wheels at the top of the cars. And these fan-like wheels destroyed atmospheric pressure. So there's something about gravitation and the force being destroyed, making the car safe. So this car does not fall to either side, but it stays on this single rail. And he said it was as if it were in a vacuum. The flywheels in their rapid revolutions destroying effectually the so-called power of gravitation, or the force of atmospheric pressure, or whatever potent influence it may be that causes all unsupported things to fall downward to the earth's surface or to the nearest point of resistance. So I want to talk to you all about what you think is being described. You're saying a gyroscope. Interesting. Yeah, gyroscope. I can see that. Karen, I know you, yeah, you guys understand. Like Sean, I see a gyro, I can see what you're saying. Karen, air currents. Wow. Remember in some buildings back in the days, they would send in house mail through the tubes like a chute. Oh, they call that mnemonic, isn't it mnemonic tubes or something pneumo when they send those tubes. They have them in the hospitals where they just send tubes through a system. We call it the tube system, but it's based on it's something like mnemonic. Help me, guys, and people who are into physics. What is that called when you're at the bank and you put the tube and it shoots it up? What's the name of that? T. Witten, magnetic rail, no friction, no noise. So magnets, are you thinking, thank you, Lori. You know you're a nurse. Pneumatic tubes. So yeah, pneumatic. Thank you. You all know. Shania, how you doing? I haven't seen you in a minute. Thank you for joining. Yeah, pneumatic tubes. So what's going on here? Scorched siren. You say vacuum. Yes. Can you see this in your mind? It's really amazing. Like I'm just thinking about this. Are they dropping some? Is this like disclosure in any way? Yeah, bank vacuum. Ernestina, hello. Thanks for joining us. Welcome. So, are they disclosing something about magnetic forces and gravitational forces? We've been taught that everything is based on gravity, and they say that this globe that we live on has a north and a south pole. But for those that don't believe in the globe world realm type of thing, how does that work out? Because now I want to find out, how does that work in terms of where is Antarctica in all of this, is what I can't understand totally. But I want to get to understanding where is that located on a good map. So they got into, storms and things. Of course, that happens when you're at sea. You're saying, yeah, yep, disclosure, underground bases, tunnel travel. So this is like a soft disclosure, because this book again came about with people that were born in the 1800s. So even when things are the early, 1900s, it's still that same, these are the contemporaries, so this is when they meet the giants, like the illustration. And you can look at their clothes. So they say that the sandals that they wore were clasped with pure gold, and you can see that they have fine, it looks like silk type of clothes. It's not overdone. It looks comfortable, but it gives you that sort of, I think of Russia, I think of Tartaria. I mean, what's going on, Tartarian people? How does the Tartarian thing fit in here? Because now we see giants, and all the giant races, a lot of people don't believe that all of the giant races were evil, that there were some good groups of the giant races. The way that this book describes this race of giants, they are very cultured, because I described that they had temples of music, they describe, and the children had to learn music and geometry, and they don't go to school until they're 20 years old. They live to be 800-900 years old. Everybody has a glow. The food is plentiful. They travel in this amazing technological way, and they communicate by speaking on air currents. So this sounds like a very, not just advanced, but it sounds like a moral, like they have morals and integrity. Did you pick that up from this story? Because that's what I picked up, that they have because the hospitality that they showed this man and his father was, I don't hear hospitality like that. Have you ever heard of somebody coming like and having that type of hospitality? They get to stay 2.5 years, and it was just refinement. That's the word. Thank you, Abby. A refinement. So when you see a refined people, they don't act like savages. Doesn't that seem to go hand in hand? That a refined everything, like dress and attitude and breeding, I don't know if you want to say breeding, upbringing, refinement. I see it all together. Refinement and moral uprightness, high value humans. So that was my impression. And this is when he had to go before the king, the great high priest, it says. So what do you think about the high priest? Look at the dimensions. You can see, just when you think of giants, a lot of times it's not always these crazy heights, but it's just something that you can see it in your mind, because you've seen giants. You've seen, people. I have lots of tall people in my family. Civilized, exactly, very civilized. Can you imagine being a guest there? Old school Philadelphia had that. Yes. Old school Philadelphia. Exactly. So I was impressed with the description of them. And then the mammoths, the large animals, the large elephants, and how they described the shores of Siberia having all, they called them boneyards. So when I talked about Scotland and how the Scottish sailors would bring back tusks, they weren't killing the animals. These tusks wash up on the shores of Siberia. It's like a boneyard. So if sailors can get that far, if they can navigate to those further shores of Siberia, and they have enough, I guess, enough of a boat to carry big tusks from mammoths. Can you imagine? So they're bringing this back, and they could get a big, reward financially for this. So they're not killing the animals. I wanted to just mention that. So look at these elephant tusks, giant elephants. So they saw birds. And another thing that struck me about this story, when he said that there were so many types of birds, they were so beautiful, birds of all colors, and just songbirds that he'd never heard before. So he described it as the birds, they quit being on the outside of the earth. They didn't want to be on the outside anymore. They went inside the earth where they were living better. So when they were heading back after 2.5 years, that's when, unfortunately, tragedy struck. Now, this, I could just see this. It is so dramatic. Like when you think about the icebergs and the way he described it, it was like the icebergs go through movement, whatever happens, and they start moving. And you imagine, he described icebergs that were 20 miles in one direction. I cannot imagine 20 miles. So these mega structures are moving. They start moving. Can you imagine? They're going down into the water, plunging down and coming back up. I can't picture it. So they're going down and coming up and crashing. And something happened where these bergs were moving. And so his father and the boat was lost. His father was instantly, he was lost at sea. So the son, he was on top of an iceberg. I think he said when everything settled and the icebergs stopped moving, it might have been 5 feet out of the water that he was on top of the iceberg. And he said that he kept walking around. He didn't want to stop because he felt that if he stopped, he was going to give up hope that his father was still alive. He didn't want to give up hope. So he was looking and walking and walking. And because he was moving around and he didn't just give up hope and just lie down and die, he was moving. So there was a whaling vessel, a whaling boat, a Scottish whaling boat, that they noticed something moving in the distance on top of this iceberg. And they went towards it and noticed it was a person, because see, he was circling around and moving. And so he got rescued because they saw him moving. I thought that was fabulous. So they rescue him, but this was the sad part. When he told his story of where he had been, because just imagine this, these Scottish sailors are like, they're looking out, they see this guy on top of a iceberg, but they don't see a ship anywhere in sight. He's by himself. So you can imagine they want to know what's going on with you. So he tells them, he tells them the truth about what he experienced inside Earth, inner Earth. And the Scottish captain of the ship, when he heard that, he put him in the care of a doctor. And, he's thinking, tinfoil hat, cuckoo. So then he's being watched by a doctor. He was able to work off and become like part of the work crew on the ship. Another thing, that before they left the inner Earth, another thing about the people, the giants, they gave them as much gold as they wanted, as much gold as they could fit to take with them, they allowed them to take gold. So that tells you something about this race of giants. They were very generous and they had a lot. So they gave them maps as well. They gave them maps and all kinds of things like that. So when he was able to, because he lost all the gold and everything, but he was saved by the Scottish whaling boat. So then when he got enough money to get his own boats and work, he just he gathered enough money. He became very wealthy. So he took his wealth, and they say he moved to Illinois, and then he wound up in Los Angeles. And that's what's interesting about this story. And I want you mud flooders to tell me what you think is going on with this story, because I'm not finished, okay? I'm going to share with you. This was not the tinfoil part of this story. Are you ready? Do you have your things that you need? Because I haven't yet gone cray-cray. This was the mild part. Hold on to your seats and get your tinfoil. Give me a chance to set it up. Okay, so finishing this story, he went to Los Angeles and he learned, this is what happened. Once he got to working with the Scottish whaling team there, he had an uncle. His mother had died because he was detained getting back home. So he told his uncle, because he was thinking about going back, right? So he thought his uncle could help to raise a team of people or whatever, like money to go back to the inner earth. So he told his uncle, and it sounded like one of those things you could picture. Your uncle's like, oh really, so you went to the inner earth? Oh, so that's how my brother died? And oh really, okay, so I want you to tell my friends here, my investors, what you want to do. And so the uncle was drawing up the paperwork to put him in the cuckoo bin. So he tells the investors, well, I want to go back to the inner earth. Me and my father, unfortunately, my dad didn't survive, but we went to the inner earth. We were there 2.5 years. I want to go back. Why don't you sign the check for us to go back? And they were like, we got your check, all right. And they're like, the guys in the white jackets come and take him away. So he's in the loony bin for like almost, how long? Is like 20 something years. So he basically was treated so horribly that he decided he would never tell the truth he would never speak of it again. So that's why when he met Willis, he wanted to tell Willis his story, because he said Willis would not be persecuted for telling his story, but he did not want to suffer another minute for telling his story. So that's how that happened. So now I want to talk about Willis, okay? But before I do that, I want to thank you, Molly, yay, for the super chat. Thank you so much, Molly Moose. Love you. I appreciate your support. Oh, so sweet. Okay, so I want to show you something. Get your tinfoil ready. We're going to talk about Willis before I end this live stream. Okay, so let's go to Willis. I thought, bear with me, okay? Anybody have any thoughts about the Smoky God? Tell me. I want to also hear from people who ascribe to, say, Christianity. What do you think is going on with this? Because I just want to hear theories. I want to know what you think, what is going on. I want to know. Okay, I found the tinfoil receipt. Darren is here. I haven't seen you in oh wow, the band is back together. Darren's here. Meep meep. You come in with the meep meeps. Darren, thank you for hanging out with us. That's right, Abby. What you talking about, Willis? It's about to get tinfoil turban time. You ready? Because it's a what you talking about, Willis. Tina, I hope you didn't have to leave, because I need all hands on deck. And I pun intended. I need all hands on deck. Where's Dana? Where's Big Pontiac, Karen, Liz, Johnny, Sean, Miss Bailey? I need you. Put on your tinfoil thinking caps. I need to share the cray cray part of it all. Okay. Are you all able to see this? Okay. All right. I looked into, of course, you know, your crazy sister. Oh no, I know the band is back together because Rosie Pie is here. You know, whenever Rosie Pie enters the chatmosphere, I want you all to show her some love because she hides out on me. I was just thinking about you, Rosie Pie. How are you? Thanks for joining. Oh, Rosie puts a rose in there. Throw some roses in there for Rosie Pie. She joins every now and Libby, I haven't seen you in a minute. Libby V. Woohoo! Yes. Okay, so listen to this. Are you guys ready? Let me take a drink of water first. This is going to be crazy. Cray cray. Okay. The writer of the story. So I found an article, newspaper article, and the town builder, writer dead. W.G. Emerson helped start Imperial Valley. Oh, wait, you know what? Before I do that, let's go to, oh, you got some roses. Look at that. Okay. Let me go to let me go to his Wikipedia. Let's click the wiki because I want you to see the wiki first. So you can see what the wiki says because the wiki's crazy. And you know, I like to see the wiki because I use their wiki to look at their crazy narrative. So don't always think that just because we know Wikipedia is trash, it can also be used for a certain purpose, which I do. Okay, so kicking his wiki. Willis George Emerson. He was born, surprise, surprise, 1856. He died 1918, they say. He was an American novelist. He was a Chicago newspaper man. He was a lawyer. He was a politician. He was a promoter. He formed the North American Copper Company in Wyoming, and he founded the town of Encampment, Wyoming. So can I just ask you all, how did he have time to do all of this? Is it just me? This is a very accomplished person. Does that sound plausible to you that somebody could be this many things? Again, for anybody who wonders why I always say the 1800s is very shady, I now look at the 1800s as if it is a person of interest. So if anything comes up in the 1800s, automatically I have a red flag and I'm giving it a side eye and I'm looking closely. What you talking about, Willis? And another thing, the 1700s is not much better. I see the 1700s as the 1800s pickpocket cousin. Okay, that's the cousin that picked your pocket, the 1700s. So both of them together, not good. Something very, very, very weird. Wiki, 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 wiki. That's right, wiki. So to me, what do you think about a person who does all this? I'm not jealous. I'm not hating the player, but how can you be a lawyer, a politician, a Chicago businessman? You found a town. When did you have time to do that and write? Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, he was born in Iowa. He died in Los Angeles. Okay, so this Norwegian sailor also, when he moved from, because he went to Stockholm and that's where he made a fortune, he moved to Illinois and then he wound up in Los Angeles. So I'm just saying, okay, look at the works that what you talking about, Willis? He wrote all of these books. Do you see all the books that he supposedly wrote? So he wrote one in 1885. Then he wrote a book in 1894, another one in 1800s, another one in 1902, another one in 1906. He wrote The Smoky God, or A Voyage to the Inner World, 1908. He wrote another one, 1915, 1917, 1919. So are they telling us he wrote a book the year he supposedly died, or the year before? He was only 61, but I'm just saying. Don't you think this is a very, I don't know, is it me? It doesn't sound, Libby, what are you saying? They can make up whatever they want about it. Just sounds cuckoo, all made up, right? He couldn't have done all this. But let me go back to the newspaper article now that I gave you that background, because I found this on his announcement, okay, of death. So I'm going to go through this newspaper, and I need you to tell me what you're thinking. Okay, so it says town builder. Remember they said he founded a town called Encampment in Wyoming. Do we have any Wyoming people? Let us know about Encampment. Is it still called Encampment? Town builder writer dead. W.G. Emerson helped start Imperial Valley. Active Republican during busy, useful life. You got that right. Very busy and very useful. He won fame. So how did he win fame? He won fame as an author as well as a realty operator. So he worked real estate too. Last rites will be held tomorrow for Willis George Emerson, well known for his work in developing town sites in the Imperial Valley, as well as in Idaho and Wyoming, and as a writer who died Tuesday night at his home, number 2964 West 7th Street. He suffered a stroke of paralysis 7 months ago in Kansas City and had been in failing health ever since. Mr. Emerson was born near Blakesburg, Iowa, March 28, 1856. He was the son of Reverend Stephen L. and Mary L. Emerson, attended Knox College, Illinois, was admitted to the bar in 1886, and received the degree of Doctor of Laws from Northern Ohio University in 1900. From 1886 to 1900, Mr. Emerson lived in Kansas, and from 1889 to 1892 made his headquarters at Ogden, Utah. Red flag, Ogden, Utah. I lived in Salt Lake City, and Ogden is like Salt Lake City. So he made his headquarters in basically Salt Lake City. How would he do that? I'm just saying, because Salt Lake City, I don't know. You tell me what you think. I'm going to keep reading. And in Chicago, I said Chicago. I meant it for anybody new. I'm not that thrown off, but yeah, I did it on purpose. While developing the town site of Idaho Falls. So wait a minute. He founded Idaho Falls, or Idaho, from 1898 to 1904. He was engaged in laying out and developing the town of Grand Encampment, Wyoming. Coming to California in 1904, he began the development of Imperial Valley town sites, including those of Brawley and Calexico, taking hold of the tracts now occupied by those cities when they were considered desert land, holding auctions and focusing attention on the valley. What do you think so far? What do you think? Is this crazy? What's up with it? You've been encamped has a ring to it. What do you think he went and let me see what you think. Man gets around. I'm telling he makes us all look like we haven't done anything. My goodness, this man finding towns. Okay, so where was I? Okay, writer of novels. He's like the man that, what is the most interesting man in the world? That would be what you talking about, Willis. So the writer of novels. Of recent years, Mr. Emerson was president of the Emerson Realty Company in the Delta building. Associated with him was his son, Wilbur O. Emerson, who, with Fred L. Emerson, a Wyoming ranch owner, were his only children. His wife, who also survives him, was Miss Bonnie O'Neill of Los Angeles. Though he was known in many states to thousands as an able, active, energetic realty businessman, it was as a writer that Mr. Emerson himself preferred to be known. Okay, so he became a lawyer. He founded towns. He did all these things, a copper company, but he wants you to know him. He wanted you to know him as a writer of novels. Okay, that doesn't sound strange at all. Okay, so so he wants you to know him as a writer. He began writing in his leisure time. So a lawyer and a city developer has leisure time to write books. Okay. So, in his leisure time, he published several novels and much verse. Among his writings are Winning Winds, Fall of Jason, My Partner and I, The Builders, The Smoky God, The Flockmaster, American Valor, a speech delivered at Gettysburg in 1911, The Man Who Discovered Himself, and many sketches and stories of travel. So that means he had time to travel also, I guess, when he was buying property. Okay, I'm spending too much time trying to figure this out. I need you all to help me figure this out. Okay, so it goes on to say it gets better. Okay, Mr. Emerson is the author of the following familiar sketch, which he called Life's Journey. Well known sketch. To me, life is a highway leading to a strange country where no milepost is passed the second time. It is bordered with green fields and countless flowers and leads from an unknown point of departure to an unknown point of arrival. Our coming, we believe, was from omnipotence, and therefore our going, we hope, is to immortality. Now is the season of probation. Each is chiseling a credit or a debit. As the flowers by the wayside give out their perfume to us in abundance, so also should we let unreserved gentleness, kindness, and goodness radiate from us to all humanity. The important and timely moment of every life is the now, and our deeds should make humanity conscious of our passing. During his busy life, Mr. Emerson found time to serve as a presidential elector in 1888. Are you ready? Tinfoil hats activated. As a presidential elector in 1888, you notice how high my voice goes up? As commissioner to the Paris Exposition in 1900. Are the alarms going off now? Tina, help, help, help. Danger, danger. Do you see that? What the heck, Dana? I can hardly continue reading. What the heck is going on? Hold it. Hold it. Hold it, hold it, hold it. I told you guys it was going to get crazy. Okay, I'm not finished reading. Okay, so again, let me read this again. During his busy life, are you kidding? His busy life, Mr. Emerson, what you talking about, Willis, found time to serve as a presidential elector in 1888, as commissioner to the Paris Exposition in 1900, as commissioner to the St. Louis Exposition in 1904, and as vice chairman of the Speakers Bureau of the Republican National Campaign in 1900. He was a life member of the Los Angeles Athletic Club and was a 32nd degree Mason, being a life member of Wichita Consistory number 2 of Wichita, Kansas, life member of Ellsworth, Kansas Lodge, a member of Encampment, Wyoming Masonic Lodge, of Corrane Temple of the Shrine, Rawlins, Wyoming, and of Apollo Commandery Knights Templar of Chicago. The funeral will be held at 2:00 tomorrow afternoon from the Connell Undertaking Company's establishment, number 1239 South Hope Street, and the body will be cremated at Rosedale. Incorporations. A.I. Lasker Company Incorporated. Incorporators A.I. Lasky. So he owned stock, I guess it, help me. What's this? These are the stocks that he owned. Help me, somebody. So he had Lasker Company, $50,000, subscribed 300. Van de Kamp's Holland Dutch Bakeries. What is that? Capital stock at 100,000, subscribed $400. California Pacific Trading Company, capital stock $75,000, subscribed 3,000. California Pacific Steamship Company, capital stock 200,000, subscribed 3,000. Okay, I've read the entire thing and I want to say, what the heck? This is the man, again, Willis, who got the account of the inner world adventure of Norwegian sailor Olaf Jansen. I just want to know, does that make sense that he got to do all of the Tina? What is going on, Tina? It's a script and he's an actor. Tina, what in the world? Do they believe us? They really think that we are going to continue believing this? I'm done. I'm so done with them, with these lies. That was his that was his obit, like in, I guess it was, let me go back and see what newspaper. If you want to ever look at old newspapers, there's something called newspapers.com by Ancestry, though. Wow, they're busy. You know, Ancestry is headquartered in Salt Lake City. So this is from, is this the Los Angeles Times? This is the Los Angeles Times, everyone. I keep finding some doozies in the Los Angeles Times. Jen, it's a script. He's playing his part. I know, it's got to be a script. Otherwise, it makes no sense. I'm amazed. So I just wanted to say that I'm going to continue looking at more of these stories, okay? This story and more of the Scandinavian, the polar and Arctic Circle. And I want to understand what is going on with Antarctica, because how is it Okay, back to Antarctica. How is it that Antarctica is supposedly at the South Pole of this globe, and it also has glaciers, cold, both poles are cold like that? That I'm not understanding how that works out. So somebody's lying about where these lands are located. Somebody's lying. It does not make sense. So if you understand where Antarctica is in connection to the Arctic Circle, please help me understand it or point me in that direction. Darren says North Pole, Jennifer, which is the center of the world. Okay, so North Pole is. So Antarctica is supposed to be the South Pole. So what is that? Like, is that what you all are saying about the Taurus? Can somebody point me somewhere where I can understand it? Mercedes says Antarctica is all hidden under ice. Right. So the place where they go, where they have all of the stations and the treaty, and they go do these missions and expeditions and stuff, they're going to the South Pole. Is that what I'm understanding? So there are two cold tundras that are supposed to be at opposite ends of our world. Ever held a compass? Long time ago. I've not held a compass in a long time. There is no South Pole. There you are. So that's what I'm detecting from the way they told this story. So there's no South Pole. So then again, I know I sound crazy. There's no South Pole. So Antarctica is where physically in proximity to the Arctic Circle. Can someone tell me so I can see? Because I don't look at the globe. That makes no sense to me anymore. Alan, you're saying Mars is on Antarctica, all that we know. Really? A compass always takes you north. And that's why remember when they had their compass and he kept saying that they went as far north as anyone has ever been, but the compass was still pointing yet north. So what did you think about that? Mars is in Greenland. Oh wow, you guys are sharing a lot. Antarctica is wrapped around us. Thank you. There you go. See, Dana. Thank you, Dana. Did everybody see that? Dana, okay, you're the only person that has helped me understand this. Okay, I got to do more studies, but do you see what she said, what she wrote? Antarctica, for anybody who's trying to get this, is wrapped around the realm. That makes sense. Now, the ice wall. Thank you. So this is where the ice wall comes in. That's right. Thank you, Dana. Dana always comes through. She comes through in a clutch. Thank you, Dana. She explains it like I just fell onto the earth, Dana. Can you please explain it to me? Explain it to me, Dana. Dana explained it. I get what you're saying, Dana. I'm going to have to, I'm going to have to sit with that for a minute, okay? Because I'm going to bring you more lives and more. We're going to reason on this because I want to figure this thing out. I want to think about the book, The Smoky God. I want to fit in. How does that fit in with my worldview, my biblical worldview? I had to get my cosmology straightened out. And even the issue of Eden, when you think about Eden, when I did that content about Eden and it sounded like they came down. They had to come down from a higher physical realm. So they fell. They had to come down like a mountain, Adam and Eve, and they had to live on the lower level of this place, like the ghetto. They had to come down to the ghetto. They were in the penthouse and you got to go back No, they didn't start in the ghetto, but it was like, you're going to the ghetto, you're going to the earth realm where they're going to lie to you about everything. Your kids aren't going to know up from down because they're going to have them thinking that NASA went on the moon and was doing the moonwalk. So your kids are going to be tricked up and they're going to have to figure this thing out. Okay. So that's how I see Eden. I don't know. I see it as like, it seemed to me that like when I was reading that book of the bees, like you got to go down to the earth realm. Let me know. What do you think? So yeah, Dana came through on that one, Dana. Yes, you did. Kay said China and Russia and American ships always guarding Antarctica. It makes no sense. Why is no one allowed there? That's what I want to know. Kay, we're going to continue reasoning, asking those kind of questions. We have a lot of catching up to do. Well, I do, because I really have not known much about this at all. But the pole changes exactly. Okay, thank you, Dana. So that is what I understand too. The magnetic poles are underneath the crust, somewhere in the crust, within the crust. So they move around. So that's why it's almost like I look at the earth realm like a clock, like a big clock face. And then you have the firmament. So if it's turning like a clock, and so if part of that side is the frozen tundra, then that pole shifting across the crust, it can change the weather. So that might be what some people are saying, that the woolly mammoths and the big animals, they were like flash frozen. And hence why they have these boneyards on the Siberian beaches. So I'm if I'm making sense, so the poles shift that way. As Earth shifts, so does the North Pole. Thank you. So I'll do more research. I have more to do. Okay, so we see that these are seafaring people. They understand the water. I would maybe try to get to know people that have boats. I think that's a good idea. Who has boats in here? I just want a kayak, okay? I love kayaking so much. So I will do some more research and get back to you all. I'm going to get the people groups straightened out. But let me read what somebody wrote. Let me look on my Facebook. Remember let me go back to it. I'm gonna read to you before I leave what somebody shared on Facebook. She knows a lot about these groups. Oh, wait a minute. Let me first. No, hold it. Doing too many things. I have an idea of what I want to do. Okay. Let me find this explanation. Hold up a minute while I pull it up on my I'm gonna pull it up on my other device and read what she said about the people that I showed you earlier, and tell me what you think, because I thought this was great. Okay. Okay. And also another thing, like Ernestina, you're there in South America. I read that the glaciers, that's the thing that's amazing. The glaciers, they are in very interesting parts of the world, like different glacier structures. They have some in Pakistan. They have glaciers down in South America. So it's all these glaciers everywhere. And that just like tells you that we're being lied to about so much when it comes to cartography and everywhere in terms of the world realm. So that's something that I thought was interesting, all of the glaciers all around. So, okay, this is what she says. Her name is Joy Spirit. When I posted the picture of that's in the thumbnail, she said that though they are Siberians. And so she said, I believe they came across the Bering Strait after around the time ice caps started melting. Before that would have been an ice wall. Okay, so she says, it appears the name of the Inuit has been passed over to the Siberians. So she even shares pictures in Inuit, Eskimo, Indians. And it was something else she said. She put a lot of good information in here. So, do you get the strange feeling? Am I off with thinking that Alaska? I don't know about Alaska, everybody. I think somebody might be coming back to get their stuff. Don't you think maybe Alaska? I don't know. I kind of feel like, I don't know, everybody. We might have to say Alaska, all right, it was nice knowing you, but we might have, I don't know, we might have won you in a I don't know, a pool game or something. What happened? Like, I don't know about that. They might be coming. Somebody might be coming to get Alaska back. Who would want to get Alaska back? What's up with that? I want to go to Alaska, by the way, now. I really do. But I'm just saying, they might be coming to get their stuff back, everybody. I'm floating it out there. You say, as a tourist, you can only spend a couple of hours in Antarctica, a lot of mystery. So, being that you're in South America, and then you have all this stuff with those islands, like you got the Falkland, you have all this stuff. Britain is always like in the mix somewhere. So, it's just Russia. Are they coming to get Alaska back? I'm just saying. I there you go. Russia, Russia, Russia. Anyway, I want to thank you. That's it for now. I could talk to you for so long. I have so many notes and all kinds of things, but I'm going to save it for, I'm going to create more content around the Alaska, the polar regions, and we're going to look at, I just thought it was ironic that one of the biggest lies ever told to you as a child is that it comes out of the North Pole, right? So you come into this crazy matrix, and one of the biggest lies that you have to navigate through is that the North Pole is very important to children. And it's amazing how that lie is just perpetuated. It's just weird, isn't it? And, you know, it's one of those things. I think that when I heard the Smoky God, it was something familiar. Did it sound a little familiar in a weird way? You can't explain it. To me, I feel a weird, it's like something sounds familiar to it. I told my mom, I was saying, because when I lived in Cuba, I had Russian caretakers. So my Russian caretakers, they gave me a children's book. I told you all about it. It was a big, like giant children's book. And my mother lost it. And I just lament that it was lost. It was lost in my grandmother's cellar or something. But this book, it was in Russian and it had various stories. And I remember they would read it to me, and it had gold like I've never seen. It was so ornate, and it had gold inlaid pages, like the various it was architecture and things. And that must be why this whole like Tartarian and like, I still am trying to figure it out, but it seems like it's a memory, it's a weird memory of something. But that book, that I wish I had it, because who knows? Maybe it was a Tartarian children's book. I don't know. But it was a big book. It wasn't the normal sized children's book, because I had to really like struggle to carry it. It was heavy and it was big. But I remember when I would look at the pages, I would become mesmerized. Like I was like, it was out of this world. But the gold, it was gold, gold. Think of Russian and gold and fabulousness. Okay. So I wish I could find this book or know more about it. But I don't know. Things happen like that, and you just wonder. It's sad, right? But anyway, we'll get together more, and we will reason more. You're saying let's research the book to see if we could find it. Was it Russian? Yeah, it was Russian, and I don't know anything more because it had all Russian letters. Like the Russian letters are beautiful, but it was just like the page. I just remember it was huge. The pages to me as a kid, it was just so big, but the gold was what stuck out. And I'm just wondering, was it real gold, maybe? When you think about now, when I think about it now, and I think about like, oh my God, the I don't know. My imagination is running away. Mercedes, if you find that book, I swear, I will. Oh, I don't know. I will dance in the street, okay, and I'll film it, okay. Thank you so much, though. I love you all. Sentinel in Spain. You should look at the Mercator North Pole. Oh, yeah, the Mercator North Pole. I should have grabbed that. Thank you, Sentinel. I'm going to grab it when I do more content, okay? So thank you for joining, everyone. I will see you very soon. Love you, love you, love you, and take good care.